I want to speak today to people who receive a lot of criticism, and it might be public criticism, it might be private criticism, it might be spoken and explicit, it might be implicit and passive aggressive, whatever it is. Originators, creators, people who are adding value to this world inevitably receive criticism, and it's important to understand that that's not an indication that you're on the wrong path. One of the ways that we're going to look at this notion of how do you endure criticism, especially when you're in the originative phase of an idea, of a creation, of adding value to the world, and you're just getting bombarded by critics who are in the stands, looking at you, watching you create, critiquing your every move, telling you everything you do wrong. I'm going to begin with this quote from Theodore Roosevelt from a speech that he gave at the Sorbonne in Paris, April 23rd, 1910. Quote, "It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles or where the doer of deeds could have done better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs and comes up short again and again, because there is no effort without error or shortcoming. But who knows the great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself for a worthy cause, who, at the best, knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who, at the worst, if he fails, at least he fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who knew neither victory nor defeat." We can take several things from this quote as creatives, as originators. First, and most obviously, take heart. Okay? If you know that you're putting yourself out there, betting everything you've got on you, and working as hard as you reasonably can to make your life work, then good for you, okay? Forget the people in the pleated khakis judging you from 30 years down the road, telling you, well, this is how I lived my life, and this is how you should do it too, right? Forget those people. And forget your friends who played it safe, right? Why didn't you do this? I went to this college. I took this road. I started my 401k at this age. Why didn't you doing this? Oh, well, why aren't you doing a life to facilitate? Essentially, most critics are going to say, in my mind's eye, I could see you doing it better, or I could see you being more like me, because it adds for them one data point in the world to legitimize their view. Most criticism from people comes from a place of insecurity, okay? So forget those people. And also forget the people in your industry in which you're trying to make it that tells you, hey, man, well, there's not a market for what you're doing. There's no market for what you're doing. People don't want to hear what you're saying. There's always a market for what you're doing if you're doing it well. There's always a market for what you're saying if you're saying it well and in a timely manner and in an eloquent and calculated and measured way. There is always a market for well-executed creatives. Or well-executing creatives, right? So take heart. If you're getting criticized, take heart. Why should you take heart? Is it because you're not alone? No, you're very alone, okay? You are absolutely alone. But that's the beauty of it. That's what makes it valuable, okay? Nobody else gets what you're doing. The critics, least of all, right? Nobody gets what you're doing. And you know what? Nobody else is going to get what you're doing until it's too late. Then everybody is going to get it. Then everybody will understand, at least everybody that you're intending to reach. And that will be a good day. So take heart. Number 2, from this Theodore Roosevelt quote, take criticism, okay? So critics actually make you better. And it's very, very hard to do this. And it's very hard to see it from this angle, especially when you're enduring the sharp pain of criticism. But critics push your project and your ideas and your creativity from 1.0 to 1.1. They do make you better. You will do what you're doing badly if you don't have any critics. Okay? You will be bad at what you do if you don't have critics. Okay? They push you from 1.1 to 2.0. They push you from beta to launch. Okay? They push you from better to worse. I remember one time I was ghostwriting a project for this NFL player, and he made a comment to me about my back muscles, and it wasn't a compliment. Okay? This guy was like 300 plus pounds, very muscular, and he said, bro, your back muscles are very underdeveloped, right? You need to work out your back more. And my first thought was, screw you, dude. Not everybody gets paid to work out, every single day, right? But the first thing that I did when I arrived home, I started working out my back more. I started working it out twice a week. I started doing deadlifts and pendlay rows and wide grip pull-ups and shrugs and snatches, okay? And people noticed. People actually commented. Then I actually started receiving compliments. And that felt so good, okay? The feeling that I got from changing because of what this critic said far outweighed the pain of hearing the comment itself, okay? When you're criticized, try to move past the ego, move past the trigger. Try to find the kernel of truth and change as quickly as possible. In almost every single criticism, you will find a path to euphoria that you hadn't seen before. Okay, criticism is just free advice that's poorly packaged, okay? Every ounce of criticism stings. It hurts. Critics incite like violent thoughts in my head, okay? But that's my ego. And my ego doesn't want me to change, but I actually want to change. Okay? So lean into the pain so that you can push through to the change on the other side of that pain. Okay? Third, take energy. Okay? If you're creating any real value in this world, you are doing something worthwhile, then you will have critics. Okay? From every good person in this world that exists, there is another person, right, calling that person a self-righteous Pharisee. For every creative in the world, there is a turtleneck-wearing hipster with a blog and writing a scathing article about how derivative everything you do is, right? There's no such thing as free value in this world. Every ounce of good that you create will attract the forces of evil to conquer and kill any life that you have brought into this world. And it is your job, it is your responsibility and your duty and part of the task of creation to defend it with everything you've got. Take energy, fight tooth and nail. You are in the right. Pivot where necessary, of course. But remember, resistance is a sign that you're actually doing something. It's a sign that you're alive. Take energy and keep pushing. Don't give up. Don't let the critics win. If critics win, there's no more good in the world, okay? The amount of good in this world is directly proportionate to the number of thick-skinned originators who are willing to tolerate public ridicule and private ridicule and mockery for attempting to formulate the most excellent version of the truth that they could conceive. And good, because truth always comes with a cost. It shouldn't, but it does. And you're standing at that line right now. The line of paying that cost. Will you pay it? Or will you fade into the background and become a critic, become a passive observer in the stands? Don't do that. Stay, fight, push. On the other side of this hill of creativity and criticism lies glory. On the other side of these critics lies a community of like-minded individuals. On the other side of that smug, self-righteous punk blogger is or Facebook commenter more often, is a group of people who want to thank you for helping them to articulate thoughts in a way that they just simply couldn't have on their own because they don't have the time or the energy or the focus. That's what you are for them. Keep going. Keep pushing. Critics are nameless, faceless, pitiable creatures in the scheme of things. Okay, seek to articulate truth, and you will attract criticism like a sale on ice cream cake attracts the fatties. And finally, are you a critic? Honestly, not do you give criticism, because even the best people in this world will give good criticism, and they give very good criticism, and they know how to say it well and in a winsome way that actually cultivates value. But not do you give criticism, but are you a critic of the kind Theodore Roosevelt mentions? If you are, it's because you have lost your purpose in life. Your furnace has lost its flame of meaning. What is your worth? What is your worth? What is your worthy cause? What is your telos? What is your goal? What is your end? Do you know it? Do you have one? What are you doing with your life? What arena are you living in? Are you even in one? Or are you just numb? Are you just desensitized? Are you just disenchanted with this world? Well, all of the enchantment which propelled you to seek meaning and excellence early on in your life, is the glimmer just gone? Is it dead? Are you cynical? You are, because you don't know how to answer these questions anymore. You're not even asking them of yourself. And I have to ask these of myself because I tend to want to become passive, right? I want to give up. I want to give up every single day. It's easy to become you. It's easy to become a critic because you've become so intoxicated with yourself that you are no longer seeking anything above yourself. Okay, that's what the book of Proverbs calls the road to death. Have you noticed a diminishment in your impulse control lately? More binge eating, more drinking, more relational explosions, more desperation? Because it's all the same ball of wax. Being a critic, being passive, being an observer, lobbing moral accusations and moral frustrations and this should have been better, this should have been different. It's so easy to say that. And you buy into a critic lifestyle that is inactive, that is passive, and that is unprincipled. You need to find your ideal again. You need to become an active agent in this world again. You need to find your life again. And I'm going to conclude once again with this Theodore Roosevelt quote. It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles or where the doer of deeds could have done better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs and comes up short again and again, because there is no effort without error or shortcoming, but who knows the great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself for a worthy cause, who, at the best, knows in the end the triumph of his achievement, and who, at the worst, if he fails, at least he fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who knew neither victory nor defeat.